Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michael Ross, CEO and founder of Bidroom, also initiated by iMeet Hotel. I'm super proud to open this event, actually the event organized by iMeet Hotel and the World of Hospitality. The World of Hospitality is an event organized by students of the SHMS. They'll tell more about the event soon, and I'm more than happy to start actually to tell a bit more about us and also the cooperation which we have with the SHMS. I would like to talk about more as well about actually how tech can improve a customer relationship. But before I tell more about this, first let's start with actually the cooperation which we have with SHMS. It started already a few years ago. What does actually cooperation means? We're sharing knowledge. You can see in this event, we just support actually the students by organizing the event, but also organizing lectures and internship opportunities. I just mentioned the event we're organizing today is co-organized together. And also, of course, all the students and also the previous students of SHMS can get a free Bidroom membership worth €49. What is nice, if I look back, I visited this amazing university, the amazing school, actually 2017, when I actually gave a workshop. My colleague Martin also gave a presentation there. It was amazing to see the interaction with the students, their knowledge, they're willing to learn something about actually entrepreneurship as well. You saw that most of the students actually, they had a passion for hospitality, but also the interest in starting their own business. But actually before, and we're going to talk more about the event as well, I would like to talk a bit more about us, who is actually Bidroom. I think the cooperation started because we were different. We have an image of being good guys in the industry. And actually, I think that was one of the reasons actually we started this partnership a few years ago. Bidroom is a booking platform which actually first built for ourselves. We built a booking platform actually to give a fair deal for users, members, but also bring fairness back to the hospitality. We see more and more that other companies would like to use our technology to involve it more. That's why this presentation is more about technology, but also how can the technology be adopted in other businesses and the similarities in other industries. As I mentioned before, we don't charge high commission to hoteliers. We're facilitating direct reservations and also just want to make the tech better. And I think it's really important, and that's why this presentation is about technology. I think our heart is our technology. And because of our technology, we are where we are now. And you can see, if you look at other booking platforms, I spoke to many 1.5 weeks ago in Florida and the Volkswagen conference. Even the big ones even don't have a well-structured, modern technology as we do. If we see what we have reached so far, pretty impressive. We have 60,000 properties. There may be 4 or 5 other companies in the whole world who reach more than direct contracts with more than 60,000 properties. Our property is actually based all over the world, focus a lot on premium, and actually we have specific rates. We're only focusing on closed user groups. You see that the discounts they're giving for our members are actually amazing. They're giving between 10 and 15% discount, but also we're giving upgrades. And it's really important when you're talking about value. And our focus is really to make sure that our members actually get a great value, but also members of partners which we have, which could be airlines, which could be fintech companies. And it's pretty important if you're just traveling, for example, with your family and you're arriving 11 o'clock in the morning, it will be amazing if you have an early check-in. If your flight is pretty early laid back, if you can check out later. If you go with your partner and you get a voucher of a restaurant, amazing, because it's your first savings which you have. And we also cope with a lot of partners. First of all with you, of course, but also other partners we have to actually deliver more services to hotels, but also to our members. A lot of things change actually. I had a presentation this morning. I was moderating a session for Quota, one of the larger conferences also in travel. And actually one of the attendees said, we see a huge shift actually in subscriptions. And of course, for me, this is something which I know for a few years. I think all of you, I think the students as well, just count how many subscriptions do you have. Probably have a Netflix subscription, maybe a Spotify one, etc. So subscriptions for the few years now, they become more and more popular, and travel is still new. But you see other companies moving to the same space. You saw a bit more than a year ago, one of the largest companies in travel, TripAdvisor, copied actually our business model, which actually is a good sign that actually they believe in a model like we do. Mentioned before a few companies, Netflix, Spotify, Bidroom. For us, it was really important to make sure that we have the content available. Because imagine you want to have a booking platform and you're missing the hotels. Nobody ever sign up. Even worse, or if they're signing up, they even leave even quicker. And it's the same if you have Netflix, you're expecting constantly new series. You're expecting a lot of content. The same with Spotify. If Adele was launching a new album a week ago, you're expecting that it will be available on Spotify. If it's not there, you will unsubscribe and go somewhere else. So it's really important you have created content and good content. And that's why we said, okay, as Bidroom, and it was a challenge, to be really honest. So let's really focus and make sure that we have our own supplier, our own hotels. You see what is actually different in the membership economy. You're moving actually from ownership to access. I remember, I don't know if ever of you, of the students ever bought a CD. Oh, the older people or the lecturers or other attendees, for sure they did. So you went to the shop, you paid actually maybe 10 euro, and in return actually you had a CD. You're owning of the CD. Now you get access to millions of songs. This 10 euro I paid once. Now you're paying it every month. So every month you have recurring payments, subscriptions. So once it was a transaction, you gave the 10 euro and now you're building a relationship. And I think building a relationship in travel is really important, because if you're looking at relationships in travel, all of you know about loyalty programs of hotels or airlines. If you see the industry of subscriptions, a lot of things change here actually. You see that subscriptions, around 20% of the adults, a few years ago, they had around 5 subscriptions. Now it's more than double. If you see people taking subscriptions for cars, they're taking it now for travel, they're taking it for different services. It's more common. You see Uber launch a subscription model, and more are coming. So subscription is actually a reason for companies as well to make sure that they have recurring income, also make your business more sustainable. The other hand, you have a different kind of relationship with your guest. You really understand the behavior of the traveler. We can see what is the behavior, what is he searching, when is he searching, and actually start knowing who is he. And actually you can recommend in places which makes much more sense for him as well. Super important if you're building a subscription program or loyalty program. I think it's in any business, I think it's super important that you have no friction. And again, friction is so important in any business. So for sure it's key actually in a membership program or loyalty program, but also it's key in actually every business, right? If you're working a few years, you're working in a hotel, there's a few things that actually make it easier for your guests to enter the building. Make it easier for them, for example, to access the Wi-Fi. Make sure you make everything in the whole pros and experience, make it as frictionless as possible. Then we're also focusing on what we do. If you're signing up for a platform like we do, and make sure that the experience is great. If you're in a hotel, wants to join our platform, make sure that the onboarding is super and easy as possible. And the same with partners. Partners are really important. We're focusing, that's why I'm actually presenting today, because for me, partners are crucial in the growth of the company. We're partnering also with large companies, actually helping us to grow our user base. So actually they have an audience and say, okay, why not deliver actually your service, your membership to our user base? It's helping us actually delivering a great user product and then delivering a service and helping you actually to grow your users. And again, loyalty I think is crucial. I think loyalty is important if you're studying, if you're working for a hotel, if you're signing up for any loyalty program or being a customer of your local bakery. It doesn't matter, loyalty is so important, and make sure that we really want to create loyal members who are coming back. And the first thing they think about when they want to book a new stay, they're thinking about Bidroom, and that's really important. And we have to create ambassadors actually for our brand as well. And I hope after this event, you all become an ambassador as well. It was challenging when you're starting now, and I look back at the years when we're starting, just more than 5.5, 6 years ago. We try to get big hotels on board. I say, who are you? You're just a small booking platform, but actually being visible, don't give up mentality, and actually just be a first mover in the travel subscriptions. We had something unique, and therefore we have large hotels like IHG, Wyndham, and many more on board. And they're giving us better deals than anybody else. They're giving us a better deal, a better rate than Booking or Expedia. Even though they provide them those platforms provide them much more bookings, they believe in our model, and that's actually great to see as well. Again, you see many brands in here, so also focusing more on the upscale properties. But again, it's amazing to see that those companies, those brands actually believe in our model and want to join actually this revolution. But digital, we really have to develop as well a product for hotels. And what you're building, if you're building a marketplace like we do, you have to make sure that on two sides, actually you helping, right? So of course you can focus only on the travelers, but if you forget the hoteliers, don't do that. It's pretty bad. But we say, okay, we really have to focus on two sides of the marketplace, make sure that actually things we do totally make sense. So build our own infrastructure. We don't use an infrastructure somebody else. And it was tough. If you see, we have daily more than 30 people working just on an infrastructure, which is actually connecting the hotel, their PMS or channel manager actually with our platform, which isn't easy. We could take it much easier. We could use supply hotel contracts of other bed banks, but it doesn't make us unique. So we invest a lot in there, but also the way I just mentioned, the zero friction. Make sure if the hotel's onboarding that it is super easy. So the whole onboarding, what we actually build for hotels to manage their content, rate plans, and everything must be as smooth and easy as possible. So we invest there a lot as well. And now you can see that actually when I'm talking to companies, I just mentioned when I'm talking to like large companies in travel, it's like, wow, you build this platform by yourself. And actually we did. And that's pretty, I'm proud to share this information because it is really, really tough to make it. And it took us years. And it's amazing to see that the large companies actually impressed and surprised that we actually were able to do that. I mentioned before, we said, okay, we want our own direct supply. We have to make sure that the whole onboarding is as smooth as possible. That's why we can facilitate the availability, inventory, and the booking API. I don't want to make it too technical as well for you. I just want to give more an overview, but also we build our infrastructure which is able to talk to everybody, which means to OTAs, to wholesalers, to direct booking platforms, PMS. So make it really scalable. And that's really important. Okay, if we're building an infrastructure, make sure it's as scalable as possible so we connect with everybody. And it's also scalable for the future. I want to share as well the extranet. I think I mentioned before a few times, zero friction. We said, okay, we're investing in a user experience for hotels. If you see the onboarding, if you're looking at a platform as Booking Expedia, if you're just using the two big ones, their onboarding is horrible. Our guy actually helped us really in building this platform from product department. Is actually, okay, I worked for several years of booking. One struggle is the onboarding. It takes hotels up to more than an hour to actually to be onboarded. Okay, we have to make the most smooth, best looking, but also best easy to use interface where they can manage their inventory, supply, content, everything out there in perks. And as a result, as soon as we launched this, we saw a huge increase actually of hotels signing up, but also the perks they give to our members. I'm a big fan of Formula One. Christian as well, who co-organizes this event, is also a huge F1 fan. Together a few months ago, we went to an event, and it's amazing to see actually what is actually happening around an event like this. Of course, you see the coming weekend, it's a crucial game again, it's a crucial race. In a few weeks, they're deciding who's the world champion. But to become world champion, you need a lot of luck, you need a lot of factors, but also you have a big influence on what is there. And often I'm comparing this actually with our platform. Why? Because if you're looking at a car, it takes years to develop the great car. The same with our platform, with our website. It took us years and keep improving, keep improving. If you look at the infrastructure, if you look at a car, the engine is crucial. You see if the engine is better than other ones, of course you have a head start. This is already, if you have make sure your platform is great and also your engine is great, you have a huge benefit. All the decisions, if you look, you see, for example, a driver like Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton. They're amazing drivers. I don't want to compare myself with them, but at the end, I have to drive the car, I have to be in the front of the company. But all the decisions that you made has to be data-driven. And that's why how the people as well, they have a huge team around them. Talk about more in a second. The friction, just call about downforce. The friction has to be kept to the minimum with everything you do. And also you see those teams, they're huge engineering teams. I see the same. We have a majority of our team are engineers, constantly working on improving. And then you have a strategy. You have to be more smart than the competition. You see the same in a race. They just go to pit stop quicker than other ones. They just make a different move to see, can we just make a different move to actually win the race at the end? And of course, you see that the competition is always improving. So you have to do the same as well. The most important is the team. Because you see, if you see in a team of the Mercedes F1 team, they're working more than 1,400 people. You see one driver constantly on the TV, but you don't see there are 1,400 people constantly working, improving actually on the car, on the data, on the strategy. Super important. And of course, last as well, it's really important to sponsors, partners, investors. If you see a car, it's full with stickers, sponsors, everything out there. Because without sponsors, we will not exist. We have the same with our shareholders. Of course, we need them. We're growing every year. Do we make profits? No, we don't do. Do we grow? Yes, we do. With the support of our sponsors. It's the same like in a Formula One team. You need sponsors as well to actually keep improving the product. And if you see us as a race, you see some pictures of me. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. You see a question in the bottom of the presentation. It doesn't have to be your fault, but it can happen. But make sure you directly react on it and actually find a solution. And it's the same in a race. You see, of course, you have working on your strategy. But it's a constant project. You have to cooperate constantly with your team. And that's the same if you're studying, if you're just working in a hotel or in any business, you just have to cooperate. And of course, you get your leader. Leader is important because at the end, if he makes a mistake, if I make wrong mistakes, if I make mistakes, try to see it as a learning, but also just learn from constantly and be creative. You see, you're not able to win the race in the current way. We saw the same. We were focusing too much maybe on directly on user acquisition. We see, okay, so if we're going to be more creative, working more with partners who has an audience, actually, we can win this race. And in the end, you can just practice. You can just practice and you can make some mistakes. Then you have to, of course, qualify. It's super important as well. You can just improve yourself, make sure you're ready to win a race, and then you eventually want to win the race. And of course, the ultimate goal as well, what we have, is just become world champion. More than happy to answer some of your questions, and I hope it was interesting for you to share a bit about technology, but also the comparison with Formula One. Thank you.
Good afternoon and thank you very much, Mr. Ross. I'm your host, Fazi Yamazana from Zimbabwe, alongside my colleague.
Hello everyone, I'm Emma Bilstein from Sweden.
We're third year students taking up hospitality and events management pathway. And before we begin, we have a few questions for you, Mr. Ross. The first question is, what are you most proud of regarding Bedroom?
Team. It's not even I have to think about it long. I think team, it makes me most proud. We see what we have developed. What is for me the most important is the culture, but we have together with the team, because you can't do it by yourself. And I need people to tell me what I should do, and I should not tell people what they should do. So I think by far it's team which makes me most proud. So I hope they're watching this one as well, so they will be happy with this answer, but it's an honest answer.
Okay.
And what was the path you took to get where you are today?
Don't give up. And I think I just did the example, for Formula One. Sometimes you're not lucky. And of course, we had faced in the last 6 years what wasn't easy, right? We're just a travel company. And actually, in the last 1.5 years, nobody travels. So you have to make decisions. And actually, of course, we're still hiring and don't firing, which is positive in this impact. But you just also see, you just have to be that case, don't give up mentality. That's super important because, of course, in the beginning, I just shared the example of hotel chains. They didn't want to join in the beginning. But if you give up, I was not built like this. We started a company with 3 co-founders. I'm the only one left because I said, okay, I don't want to give up. I want to make this work. And actually, if you see where we are now, what we have developed, that makes me proud. So I think don't give up is really important.
And the final question for you, sir, is what has been the biggest challenge for you that you've had to overcome?
Of course, there are many challenges. First of all, people are not allowed to say the word problem in in Bedroom, because I always see everything as a challenge. I think it's important. And there are multiple things, right? You just have to compete against 2 large companies. If you're looking at Booking Expedia, they're massive. They're valued at 80 or $50 billion. We were a small startup, and then you just have to convince hotels on board. And I think that wasn't easy, to just don't give up and still keep pushing. And then you just see, okay, you have to build an infrastructure, which is tough. I just didn't even know how to start, right? So this building a team together which is going to overcome those challenges was really important. So there were multiple. I can make a whole list of challenges, but most important, you believe that you can solve this challenge and find a solution for it.
Thank you very much, sir. Once again, we would like to welcome you to the World of Hospitality event. We're live from the Swiss Hotel Management School here on Lausanne campus.
Yes, and we'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here with us today, virtually. And we are delighted to welcome back those of you who have been with Swiss Education Group before, and also with Amenity for a long time, and for those of you who are joined us for the first time. And this year's World of Hospitality will focus on human-oriented hospitality.
Now, before we kick off this event, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to our mentor and World of Hospitality Director, Mr. Ludovic Kosande, our Student Event Director, Ms. Kojan, our Communication Director, Irvine, and of course, we have Linus, who is our broadcasting coordinator, and he's behind the scenes. Last but not least, we'd like to thank Amenity Hotel as well as Bedroom, who have made all this possible for us and for us to actually build a wonderful memory.
Yes. And with that said, we would like to introduce our school a little bit by showing you a short video to get more insight on who we are and what we do. So that's a little bit about our school, and I could only say that I'm very proud of being a student here. And if you want to know more about us, you can go on our website shms.com. So what do you say? Let the word of hospitality begin.
Yeah, and we shall start off with the first topic of the day, which resonates so well with this year's theme, which is human-oriented hospitality. And here to talk about mindfulness and hospitality, let's welcome Ms. Kiki Da Costa. She's one of our lecturers here in SHMS. And over to you, Ms. Da Costa.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much, Solomon, for this beautiful introduction to this talk on mindfulness for the world of hospitality, human-oriented. So I thought for today I brought some ideas on, first I will talk a little bit about myself, then a bit of mindfulness and some definitions, the benefits, its implications to the hospitality industry, as well as how to take care of yourselves. And we will end with a short meditation. So just a little bit about myself. I've been teaching here at SHMS now coming up to 7 years. I've taught on a variety of courses, including events logistics, which was my first subject, and I still hold it very dearly into my heart. And I have recently been interested and started researching meditation and its impact on students' well-being, basically out of my own interest and need, since I used to look like that one over there with, lots of thoughts coming out of the heads, often constantly fighting anxiety and fighting negative thoughts, and overall, all in all, being quite mindful and not mindful. So my research that I've just completed earlier this year was on the benefits of mindfulness on the students' population, and the findings very much matched some of the findings that I'm going to present here for you, which are based on the literature. So here are some definitions of mindfulness, and we're going to see some similarities in some of them. So bringing one's attention, complete attention to the present moment, present experience on a moment-to-moment basis. This is by Marlet and Christella. Here we have one from Kabat-Zinn, who is the founder of MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, which is a course that I'm just completing, about to complete, to become a mindfully trained educator. And he says, paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. The next one is by Bayer, and it says intentionally bringing one's attention to the internal and external experiences occurring in the present moment. So what do we get from all these points? What are the learnings that we have? So attention is a common one. Yeah, so paying attention, focusing on a particular object, often is the breathing or the sitting bones on a chair with an intention, so of being present, of focusing. And normally we would be maybe disrupted, or our attention will go away, sometimes top down through our thoughts, or bottom up through external noises that we hear, and we practice all the time, coming back to the present moment, bringing our attention to intentionally to our breath and to our sitting bones in a non-judgmental way. So mindfulness, if I had to really describe quite simply, and it is described like that by many authors and scholars on the field, mindfulness is really a skill that you practice in order to wake up and live life to its full. You can practice in many different ways. The formal practices normally are most likely to be sitting down in a very erect position on a chair or a meditation cushion. You can practice you can practice lying down, some you'll be better standing up, but it's really however you feel most comfortable. We have also what we call informal practices, and these can be practice perhaps walking, so just paying attention very carefully as you walk, on the environment, on the things, as your feet reach the floor. Maybe you would like to be mindful as you eat, or even brushing your teeth. Last time I was practicing some informal mindfulness, I was in a roller coaster with Dimitri, our receptionist and sports coordinator, and we had a lot of fun as I was trying to practice as he was screaming next to me. But the experiment was incredible because I'm very afraid of roller coasters and heights, and I could control my fear very well, and it was amazing. I can't tell you, you have to experience it. But as I was breathing down the big drops, I felt much happier and controlled. So really, mindfulness, what it does is trying to for you to get to know yourself, what triggers, what kind of thoughts you have, what unpleasant situations, pleasant situations, I don't know, what you like, what you dislike. Basically, it allows you to see things differently as you create that space between what is happening and yourself. Yeah? Here I just picked some some famous people that are known to practice meditation. So we have there Kate Perry saying that she has a very busy day and mindfulness brings her moments of peace. Oprah, she says meditation helps us separate between the voice, and she means the thoughts, and herself, which also transforms her present moment. We have there Jeff Weiner, he's the CEO of LinkedIn, and he says that he uses meditation to create strategies for his long-term goals. And more research, and that is on neuroplasticity and how mindfulness affects the brain. And neuroplasticity is really just the ability of the brain to change itself. And some research says that the mindfulness practice actually do rewire your brain. Yeah, so creating better concentration, sleep, health, just basically by you creating these new conditions, new connections, maybe positive connections, being able to disassociate yourself from some negative patterns of behavior, you will experience more calm and some of the benefits. So here are some of the benefits. Yeah, so better brain function, better sleep, and I found that as well with my research. Increased clarity and awareness of concentration, also strengthen the immune system, less automated responses, and also calmer and less stressed and less anxiety. However, with that, you can't get those benefits if you don't practice, and you have to practice on a daily basis or as often as you can because obviously as a skill, the more you practice, the better you get. And if we were to connect this to hospitality and see how we could bring these benefits, we know that hospitality is a very tiring job. It's long hours, and you're often in front of the client having to solve the problem there and then, and it can create what we call, and it's very common to call, emotional exhaustion. And that comes from a number of stresses, and one of them could be the fact that we are often, especially in front of the clients, suppressing a lot of our emotions. In time, that creates a lot of stress. Yeah, not being able to show your emotions, and also creates some sort of detachment. And then people sometimes have studies show that people don't know anymore their emotions. They are detached from that emotion, and mindfulness can bring you that connection back. Yeah. So how can we really make new choices in our lives to improve our lifestyle and our well-being? So we have some tools here. One of them is called GLAD, and it's basically at the end of the day trying to see, if you can find some gratitude, anything that you'll be grateful for during the day, or maybe something that you've learned during that day, or something you accomplished. It can be as simple as just being able to come home on time, basically, or have some delight, like eating a dessert and really enjoying it, or chatting to a friend that you haven't spoken for a long time. Another tool that we use, that we teach in mindfulness-based stress reduction, is to look at the rain. And this is very linked to your emotions. So basically recognize your body sensations and your emotions, allow them to come through, and see where and in what part of your body they are echoing, they are showing up. Yeah, investigate, be curious about your sensation. Yeah, what is it that your body is telling you? But try not to identify with it. Yeah, so try to keep your perspective. And by that is that I mean that one of the ways that we explain that is to label your emotions. So you can say, anger is here, oh, stress is here, or joy is here, gratitude is here. Yeah, so emotions and feelings. And then if you are feeling a negative emotion or an unpleasant emotion, but you're not associated with it, you're not saying to yourself, I'm angry, I'm unhappy, you can then have that space necessary that you can deal with the problem. Yeah. Otherwise, if you say to yourself, I'm angry, who's going to deal with that? Yeah. So keep that perspective in order for you to be able to deal with it. And the next one is called STOP. So this is an acronym for stop and stand. Yeah, it's the first thing. Yeah, so stop and stand. Take a moment, take a few deep breaths, and then maybe you will find the opportunity. Yeah, and with the opportunity will come the possibility of not reacting, but of, changing the way you react, changing the way you behave. And that really comes with, practicing standing out and not being in your autopilot. And as long as you're not in your autopilot, yeah, you become aware of what's going on. And this is a very famous quote in mindfulness that says, with awareness comes choice. And with choice comes freedom. Yeah. So with that in mind, I would like to invite you for a very short breathing space meditation. So this is a 5-minute meditation, and where we're going to be bringing in our intention. Yeah, so coming back, turning towards the present moment experience, and our attention will be in the body, in the breath, in the emotions, any thoughts that you may have. And you're going to have that create an attitude of curiosity, acceptance, yeah, kindness, non-judgment to yourself. Okay, so let's start by taking a position. Yeah, so you could be sitting or standing, and if you feel comfortable, perhaps closing your eyes, yeah, and just follow my guidance. So step 1, awareness. So dropping into the present moment and becoming aware of how things are in this moment. Deliberately adopting an erect and dignified posture. If possible, closing your eyes if you haven't done so, and bringing awareness into your inner experiencing, and perhaps asking, what is my experience right now? What thoughts are going through your mind? As best we can, simply acknowledging thoughts as mental events, perhaps labeling them. Thinking. Planning, perhaps remembering or dreaming. Then investigating about emotions, as best we can, turning towards any sense of discomfort or unpleasant feeling, recognizing them. What can you feel right now? What about body sensations? What is here right now in terms, what can you feel in your body? Try scanning your body from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Is there any tightness or any freshness? Then step 2, gathering. So kindly gathering your attention to focus on any physical sensations of the breathing itself. Perhaps just putting your, if you care to, putting your hands on your tummy and taking a full deep breath, seeing how the tummy expands as the breath rolls in and goes back to neutral as the breath goes out. Practicing this maybe 2 or 3 times and paying attention to it. Now step 3, expanding. Expanding into the whole body. Yeah, feeling the breathing and the feet on the floor, so that to include the sense of the body as a whole, including posture and any facial expressions. As best we can, gently turning towards breathing into any discomfort or any pain, and perhaps saying to yourself, soften, soften, soften. And then slowly releasing and letting go everything on your out breath. And as best we can, bringing the expanded awareness into the next moments of your day. Your 3-step breathing space is now complete. You may slowly open your eyes and come back to the room. And just bear in mind that there is both pleasure and power in being present. And thank you again for inviting me to this show. I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you all soon.
Thank you so much for that eye-opening perspective on mindfulness, Ms. Da Costa. That was relaxing and mind-blowing. If anyone have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat room.
And now we're about to travel all the way to Saudi Arabia to hear about the blooming of entrepreneurship from Mr. Salman Gassim. He's a co-founder of CEA Ventures, and he's also an alumni of Hotel Institute Montreux. That's one of our sister schools. And good afternoon, Mr. Gassim. How are you today?
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. Is my voice clear?
Yes, sir.
Is the sound clear? All is good?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Super. So I'm very pleased to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited by the previous speech as well. It was quite quite informative and very interesting, to be honest with you. And I was happy to see in the what do you call it, in the chat box, there were a lot of familiar names from the hello Mikhail, very good to see you here. And yes, I'm an alumni from SHMS. Initially I had the pleasure to meet many names here also. Miss Medico, I can see you in the chat box. We have one of our students from Saudi Arabia, Fatma. Pleasure to see you here as well, and a lot of beautiful people. So thank you for being here. I'll try to make it as short as possible because I'm very keen on the Q&A part, to hear from to hear from you and to see how we can better benefit you from our previous experience and so on. So today we'll be talking about blooming in entrepreneurship hospitality industry. Allow me to share my screen. Please confirm if you can share, if you can see my screen. So what do you see? Do you see my actual screen, or do you see the screen that you're not supposed to see?
Yes, sir.
You're seeing the screen that you're not supposed to see. Why is that? Okay, let's see what we can do here. Give me a minute, please. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to prepare them already and to have them addressed. I'll be very, very keen and happy to address all your questions and inquiries. And I'll try to make this session as interactive as possible, because that's what we are all about here, is to really interact and to learn from one another and exchange ideas and experiences. So I will actually need you to interact through the chat box. If you're all aligned, give me please a thumbs up in the chat box, just like that. Voila, perfect. David is the first. Amazing. We have people are with us as well. Perfect, perfect. Okay, great. Can you see my screen very well? Yes, sir. Perfect. So blooming in hospitality, I would like to start by asking a question, or actually introducing myself. I wanted to skip this part, especially after I saw many names that are very familiar to me. I had the pleasure to study with or work with or interact with on various education occasions in the previous times. But today I'm in a much better, in a very different state. Today, I am the CEO of Swiss Hospitality Company, which is a leading consulting and advisory firm here in Saudi Arabia that has the concept of merging between renowned hospitality, Swiss hospitality standards, together with very fine and profound Saudi hospitality values. Together we work with a lot of government agencies, such as the Ministry of Tourism and some other ones, as well as with the PIF and some of its projects. Further to that, and as mentioned previously, I'm a graduate and an alumni of SHMS, and I have a Derby degree as well. I'm also a board member at the Saudi Swiss Business Council, which is the official business delegation from Saudi Arabia to Switzerland. I'm very pleased to not only be an alumni or Swiss educated, but I also contributed heavily into the economical and bilateral trade relationship between both countries. And for that, I was able to receive, to be one of the people who received the Swiss president just before the corona hit, when he visited the King, His Majesty the King Salman here in Saudi Arabia at the King's Palace. Ever since, we have been, directly contributing to this development between both countries. And so I had an entrepreneurial journey myself that actually started when I was in Co, and then it continued in Leza, and then post that in Geneva, and now here in Saudi Arabia. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but let's get right into it. I would like to start with what is mindset, and please take a minute to answer this. And just tell me in the chat box, what do you think is mindset in your own words? What is mindset? And please, the two hosts, feel free to participate as well as you can. In your own words, what is mindset? Your personal way of thinking that reflects your values. Beautiful. Beautiful, Miss Medico. Very, very happy to see you here. It has been a long time. The way of thinking. Perfect. Great. So if you have any further ideas, don't hesitate to share them as we go down the line. The way you see life. Perfect. Manar, one of our students. Perfect. Very, very happy to see you here, Manar. So mindset, there is a famous quote says it's the established attitudes held by someone, right? Which is actually very much close to what has been shared in the chat box already. And one of the two important type of mindsets that we commonly face or deal with are the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And I would like to give you some very common sentences or phrases that are used, or perhaps descriptions that are used to describe a fixed mindset. And why are we doing here now? Before talking about entrepreneurship and telling you a little bit more about it, I want you to really, because entrepreneurship starts within yourselves. It starts within yourself, within your mind, and really how you see things and how you view things. So, and I sincerely believe if you are planning to start a business or to start a company, before you do anything, start with yourself and just look into yourself and to your mind. And do you have really that growth mindset or that more of the fixed mindset? And we're going to know that, in a bit. So some people, and if you're one of them, it's okay, but tell us or just think about it. If you see that fixed mindset views are talents that they say talents are traits, or they say brains plus talents equals success. So which makes it which limits success in their view. They think that only if you have brains and talents that equals success, otherwise you can never achieve success. Constructive criticism is a personal attack. A typical fixed mindset thinks like that. Whenever they receive constructive criticism, they think it's of a personal attack. Other successes due to luck. And I did actually face that myself. Some people thought that you became successful and you have a big company with 3 different offices and partnerships on a global scale and what's not, just because you got lucky. So I don't know how that is true, but that's a typical phrase of a fixed mindset view on what they would say. And a fixed mindset typically avoids challenges rather than faces challenges or deals with challenges. The other type of mindset that I would like to highlight upon and really wanting you to consider is the growth mindset. Growth mindset is basically believes ability can be developed through hard work. So, for example, at some point in my life, I couldn't be, let's say, a proper guest speaker, or I couldn't speak in public, or I couldn't, face an audience of a certain, a social level or anything of that sort. And I worked on that until I met the king, I met the crown prince, I met a lot of, ministers and princes and what's not, and VIPs and ambassadors, that today I feel extremely comfortable when I deal with any of them. So this is what a growth mindset is to believe that whatever it is, with hard work, you can actually develop it and you can achieve it. Brains or talents are only the beginning of success. They're not really the one and only, but it's really to start, with it's the sort of the thing that you can adopt in order to start building your success. We believe, people with growth mindset, they believe that long life learners, they are long life learners. We don't stop. We never stop. I never stop. I mean, I was blessed to have such a reputed degree from Swiss Hotel Management School and a dual degree from University of Derby. And I did my internship in 2 different phenomenal places. And I had a very great exposure, even though that I still learn until today. I get myself into stuff that is that I have no clue about, or I have no idea of. For example, right now we're running through a massive digital transformation in the company, and I have no clue anything related to IT or technology or anything like that. Now I'm becoming more of an expert. So we believe in learning. We believe into every day it's an opportunity for you to learn something new. View failures as an opportunity to improve. That's very much correct. I have failed so many times. in so many ways, in so many levels, that made me reach to where I am today, simply because I saw those failures as an opportunity to improve, or as an opportunity, or just as a feedback, and then we can convert that into a proper opportunity. So what kind of mindset do you have? Would you like to share that? If you would like, you would like to share that. And these are the typical, let's say text that you would think of, or the type of dialogue you will have within your mind, that I can learn everything I want. When I'm frustrated, I persevere. I want to challenge myself. I want to fail. Are you more of that? Or are you more of I'm either good at it, or I'm not, I'm frustrated, I give up, I like to be challenged and stuff like that. I mean, it's not a problem if you are of one mindset or the other. What is important and what is crucial today is for you to be able to identify where do you stand. We believe, or I sincerely believe, is knowing the exact issue is 50% of the solution. So if you know exactly where do you stand, you'll be able to to be able to put a plan and see how you can grow from there. After classifying and defining mindsets, whether the fixed and the growth, and and we had different definitions by some of you that have tried and failed and gave up immediately without trying. What an advice you can give someone? I would love to answer your question, David, just after the few more slides. I don't have too many slides, but it's just, I'll be happy to address them soon. So entrepreneurs, the impact on economies worldwide. So the other thing that I wanted to tap on, so the first thing is, if you want to become an entrepreneur, start with yourself. Start with your mindset. Make sure that you have the right mindset for the journey that you are signing up for. And then secondly, the other important thing that I would like you to know, and I would like to shed the light on, is the impact of you starting a company on economies worldwide. It's such a global topic interest. Entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs and SMEs and small and medium-sized enterprises, etc. It's because it really resembles the majority of businesses globally. And businesses are important because they are basically who are creating economies, and very healthy economies. So I would like to give an example from my homeland, from Saudi Arabia, where I'm speaking from at the moment. Saudi Arabia, we're blessed by having such powerful and very visionary leaders, such as the king and the crown prince, where we have a vision, a country's vision that is called Vision 2030. Vision 2030 that has, which is basically, Vision 2030 is more of a map. It's more of a guideline, a support system to everyone in the ecosystem in Saudi Arabia to know how they can help, how they can contribute, how they can support the country's growth. And so entrepreneurs has massive role in Vision 2030 here in Saudi Arabia. Some of the important roles is to increase the small and medium-sized enterprise contribution to the GDP growth, which is the gross domestic product, from 20% to 35%. So when we say 20 to 35%, it's actually substantial, considering that Saudi Arabia's economy is considered among the 20 largest economies globally. So you can only imagine 30% of that is contributed, and that directly contributed by entrepreneurs and by SMEs locally. Also, the entrepreneurs has another sort of KPI by lowering the unemployment rate from 11% to 7% by 2030. And why is that designated to small and medium-sized enterprises? Because based on statistics, SMEs are the top recruiters globally. So actually being an entrepreneur and starting your own venture, you're not only helping yourself, you're not only helping or contributing to your loved one, but you are actually directly impacting the economy of the country that you're based in, or your company is based in. And then that's another very fruitful objective that we have here in Saudi Arabia, is to increase women's participation in the workforce from 22% to 30%. And I sincerely believe we will surpass that number and that figure before 2030, simply because Saudi women has proven themselves in all domains. Today we have Saudi faculty members in Harvard. We have Saudi scientists at NASA. We have Saudi I don't know if you can call them politicians, but we have Saudi female figures at the equivalent to the parliament here in Saudi Arabia, which is Shura Council. And we can see them already in so many major roles, such as the chairman of one of the biggest banks here in Saudi Arabia, and so many other roles. I'm actually proud to tell you that more than 50% of our company are females. So, and to tell you the truth, this did not happen by plan, but it really happened by them earning it. The way how it works in our company is that if you want to get an opportunity, you need to earn that opportunity. If you want to remain in the company, you need to earn that sustainability. If you want to grow in the company, you need to earn that promotion or that type of scalability. So women in our company has been, we have had so much successful stories with that, and we are very proud about it. And we're also even prouder that the government has set very clear objectives to including them into the overall economy. Saudi Arabia obviously has a very unique positioning globally. It is sort of the connector between Africa, Asia, and Europe. It's strategically located and fairly close to most major destinations within the region, and which you can reach in a very timely manner. Another question I wanted to ask then, so based on the information that I have mentioned, what do you think is an entrepreneur? What is an entrepreneur? In your own words, in your own definitions. David, I would love to hear your feedback. So David, Alice, Ms. Medico, if you're here, I would love to hear from you. What do you think is an entrepreneur in your own word? And for that, I have two different definitions, by the way. A business starter, yes. What is an entrepreneur? What does entrepreneurship means to you? Yes. They're only
an entrepreneur is someone who's willing to take risks and willing to learn about the business, and like I said before, willing to take risks.
Yes. So their own leader, business starter, someone who's willing to take risk. Great. All are accurate, actually. All are correct. Someone that goes about building business from scratch, that's correct. And this is where we have, this is the, let's say the classic or the fundamental or the principal definition is an individual who undertakes the risk associated with creating, organizing, and owning a business, right? He makes ideas happen, very much on point, innovative, and always ahead of their business problems. Correct, Alice. So that's correct, but I have a quote that I believe describes entrepreneurs even better. And that is, so an entrepreneur is someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down. To me, this is extremely accurate considering the journey that I have been through. And simply because starting a business doesn't mean that you have a very solid business plan and all type of plans and studies and forecasts, and you're just going to go by it. Entrepreneurship is about doing the preparation necessary. That's correct, but then a billion things will happen down the down the road and along the way. A lot of surprises, some good, many not so good surprises that you'll have to deal with and face with. And therefore, I think this quote actually really defines what does entrepreneurship actually mean, or what is an entrepreneur. And speaking of which, I would like to also highlight the top skills that will be highly regarded or highly beneficial for an entrepreneur in the hospitality industry. So the key skills of an entrepreneur, number one is listening. How we interpret verbal and non-verbal messages sent by others. As you may know, more than 50% of our communication actually takes place, actually is a non-verbal communication. And what do we mean by non-verbal communication? We mean face expression, we mean tone of voice, we mean body language, hand gesture, and all of that. So it's very, very important to listen carefully, to consider the non-verbal before the verbal, and to really be able to be not only a good listener, but obviously a good communicator. So a good communicator is someone who can actually pass an information in an appropriate manner.
The time is 5.
Sorry for that. That's my laptop reminding me what time it is. Communication, it's also extremely important, because what you need to do is, once you're an entrepreneur and you're out there in the business, you need to have deals. You need to strike deals of all sorts. You need to sign a deal with your first employee. That's a deal, right? And then you need to sign a deal with your suppliers. That's definitely a deal, an important one. And then you have to definitely sign deals with your potential clients or leads. And that's the core deal that you want to be dealing with. So these two skills are very much fundamentals, and they're very much crucial. And I highly recommend all of you here that are considering, entrepreneurship in your path, in your career path, or in your professional path, then to very much focus on those two and to excel at them. Number 3 is problem solving. Why is it so crucial? Because you're going to be dealing with a lot of problems down the road. No matter how prepared you are, no matter how well equipped, no matter how much support you receive from your parents or from your loved ones, problems will keep rising, and not necessarily problems. Maybe you can consider them more of a challenge and more of different levels of obstacles. But at the end of the day, you need to deal with them. You cannot really avoid. If you avoid them, or if you just keep them pending, they will only increase in time and in severity, and it will just not help no one. So problem solving skills and knowing how to deal with problems, how to stay calm, how to make the right decision, how to study the case properly before making any type of decision, etc. Speaking of decision making comes at number 4. Decision making is also very important, because being an entrepreneur, as some of you said in the chat box, you are a business owner, which means you will have to make all the decisions. If you have a partner, then your partner, that's fine, but then still you both, or 3 of you, or however many are you need to make the decision required. It's fairly different than working in an established organization, whereby certain decisions you'll have a certain level of authority that you can make decision upon based on your experience and based on your background, etc. But then being your own boss, you literally have to make a decision whether to hire someone or not, whether to sign this deal or not, whether to expand or not, whether to take this deal at this price or not. There's just so many decisions that needs to be made, and that's why decision-making capabilities are very important. And finally, negotiation. At the end of the day, no matter what type of deal you're trying to close, whether with an employee or with a supplier or with a partner or with an investor or with a client, you need to always assure that there is a win-win situation for both. If it's not win-win, if you're winning and they're not, it's an imbalanced and unhealthy relationship, and don't do that. Always have a win-win setup. I would like to end up my slides with a beautiful quote by Steve Jobs. Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. So if you see yourself and you're passionate about entrepreneurship and creating something that is really impactful, that solves a problem, that adds value, don't waste your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gassim, for your inspiring speech. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We'll have our audience to ask you questions in the chat room, and you can answer them there.
No problem. I'll do that. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Have a wonderful time.
Thank you.
We'll be having a short workshop before we move on to the next speaker. Our service and bar team had the opportunity to visit the world-famous Moran liquor birthplace here in Switzerland, and we shall show you what they did.
On the 8th of October, me and my service team visited Mohan in Martini. First of all, I want to tell people what exactly Mohan is. Mohan is a company which produces different kinds of syrup and plant-based liquor. Not only that, we also wanted people to know where it actually originated from. Everybody all over the world has Mohan in their bar, but they don't know where it exactly originated from. So we went to Mohan, we got to interview the 4th generation owner of Mohan, and also got a lot of insights of what exactly Mohan is. So let's get to know more about Mohan. Thank you so much for accepting us, sir. So would you like to introduce yourself to the crowd?
I am Jean-Pierre Mora. I am a member of the 4th generation of the Mora who own this company, and with now our cousin Voca. But it's a family business since 4 generations, and it's still completely a family business after 4 generations.
Okay. So like, what do you want people to think when they hear Mohan? And like, do you still believe that people still know where it originated from?
Well, I think it depends where you are. I mean, Mohan used to be very well known in Central Europe, all around Central Europe, and being the reference for high quality Williams spirit, because effectively back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, Mohan was the leading and actually created the market for Williams spirit in Central Europe, and was the reference of quality. It's still the case, but in a to a lesser extent, because meanwhile production has started in Italy, in Austria, in France, but it was all triggered by the Williamine, who established itself as a high quality spirit. At the time, if you want, fruit spirits were not considered such high quality products. Basically, you would distill what remained. And so to say, my grandfather, and especially my father, who ran the company for 50 years, between 58 and 2009, were the first one to say, we take the best fruit to do the best alcohol. That was really the credo of the company, which was a quality mission. The quality mission was also sustained by the fact that we have a country which brings us, very modestly, the best Williams pear in the world and the best apricots in the world. And this for several reasons, which are what can I say? I mean, linked with the nature itself. The soil of the valley is coming from the mountain. It's done by erosion from the glacier, etc., etc. So it gives a very powerful soil, which is very rich and which brings lots of aroma. And then we have sun, and we have cool weather coming back in the night. And these are the optimum conditions to get the best fruit. Again, I mean, very modestly, the best Williams pear and the best apricots in the world.
So yeah, like, is there like any key factor which you would like tell is the key for your success?
I think I told them already. It's first of all quality. I mean, quality in process, selection of the fruits, and the quality of the fruits themselves. And there we have to be very modest. We are not the creator of that. It's this country which is exceptional for fruits, which brings us and which offers us this raw material, which is of really top quality.
So after 130 years of success, do you think there are going to be any changes in the brand or with the products in the future?
We have to change, you know. I mean, it's not easy, because we are facing a difficult moments. I mean, my father basically had to manage success and production and increase in production. We have to manage decreased sale and a very difficult competitive moment, and also cultural changes in the consumption of alcohol. If I would say one of the key problems we face is the cultural change from, let's say, in the 60s and 70s and still 80s, it was an absolute must to drink a little bit alcohol during the day, even during the day, and certainly with the evening meal at the end, you would have your small digestive. Today, and I am always taking that example, you have the table, we were already at the end of the table, but the risk is that we have been a little bit pushed towards falling from the table. So the real challenge we face is to express the value of our products, and to say that they can be used and drunk in several moments during the day, during the, let's say, the pleasure of consuming alcohol, which must remain a limited pleasure, of course, from health perspective, that's for sure. But there are many moments where the fruit spirits should have a much better place, because when you think of it, they are the most precious alcohol which exists. I mean, if you think vodka, sorry, it's corn. If you, or potato, or sugar. I mean, it's the raw material has practically no value. If you take a bottle of apricot, and especially in Valley where it's very expensive to produce, you are already, and you need to use for each of these bottle 8 kilos of fruit. And then you multiply this by the high price we have to pay in this country for the fruits. So you have a cost of raw material which has completely nothing to do with other alcohol like whiskey or gin, or where the value of the raw material is actually very, very low. So what you pay in a very expensive whiskey or gin is actually the marketing part of the product, which convince the consumer that they are high value products, while they are certainly high value products in terms of quality, of taste, but certainly not in terms of intrinsic value.
So how are you including mixology into your brand image?
Well, as I said, this was a challenge. So we thought it happened a little bit by chance, because even ourselves, we had no idea that we could use white spirit for mixology. And then I remember, because there was a precursor, if you want, at the World Fair in 1964 or 65 in Montreal. The person in charge of the Swiss booth there had created a cocktail which he called Victoria, which essentially is a Williams tonic. And I rediscovered this by chance because we went to his wife's restaurant. His wife was one of the leading chefs in Switzerland in Saas-Fee, Irma Dutsch, so I mean a very famous name. And then he was there and he said, why don't you try our cocktail Victoria? And then I said, of course, this is it.
But then there's one more question which I would like, which everybody actually wants to know, is like, is there like any special or traditional flavor of syrup which you would like suggest to people to try it from your brand?
I would say, you know, natural. I mean, we have developed now a huge offering of syrup. We have now 52 flavors, but there are one or two which are particularly close to my heart. Yeah. And first of all, it's the traditional flavor we had, which were the flavor of my childhood and which were nowhere else to be found, which are citronelle, for example, which is very special. It's a syrup from nowhere. It's lemon, but it's not pure lemon. It's something which is different, and it's like a taste that you know, a taste which something I have had before. Now,
thank you so much for your time, and like we got to know like what exactly Mohan is, because people only know like from the outside, okay, like syrups and everything, but then you actually gave us like an insider of what exactly happens here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to have you here in Martigny.
Oh, thank you so much. So now Mr. Julian from Mohant is going to show us how the cocktail Royal Raspberry is made with the products from Mohant.
I will put the equivalent of 1 centiliter of raspberry syrup. Muddle the ginger with the syrup. Extract the flavor. Put some ice. Raspberry liqueur.
I hope by now everyone would have got an idea of exactly what Mohant is and where it originated from, and even know what exactly they do in Mohant. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the webinar.
A big thank you to the Service and Bar and Logistic Department for the insightful workshop, and thank you, Moran, for your support. I hope this caught your interest, and if you would like to know more, do not hesitate to contact us in the chat room.
Now, we can't wait to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Ruby Bakshi Kerdi. She's a lecturer at Hotel Institute Montreux, which is one of our sister schools, as I have mentioned before. She's the chairperson of the Ladies Leagues, as well as an exceptional woman of excellence after winning this award at the Women Economic Forum in Lisbon, amongst her other accomplishments. She'll be talking about the role and the impact of women in the hospitality industry. Hello, Dr. Kerdi. How is Montreux?
Hello, everyone. Yes, Montreux is great. We are having a bit of slushy snow, but otherwise it's wonderful here.
Very good.
So I hand it over to you now.
All right, thank you so much. I have been enjoying listening to the other speakers. It's been really nice and enriching sitting in the vicinity of and comfort of your place and having so much rich and wonderful content, enjoying as well as taking as much as we can, especially in this weather when you can't really go out, but you can take so much rich information sitting in front of your computers. So thank you so much, World of Hospitality, first of all, to invite me on this platform and giving me an opportunity to listen to the people as well as speak on my behalf about the women in hospitality. So yes, I'm really happy that whenever there is anything related with women or whenever there's any mention of empowering women, it just makes me passionate. It just makes me jump to the bandwagon and let my voice out so that it's heard and understood what women especially feel when they are told to be doing things which sometimes are just for men, or when they are given the platform to move forward and speak about certain things which were initially more male dominated. So yes, I would prefer to keep it more like, sharing my own experience, what I feel, what I have been doing. And wherever I think, I would really appreciate if people can also participate, not make it like a boring lecture. But, if you have similar experiences, you can just use the chat window and write. And if there are certain things which you would like to illustrate, please make use of the chat window. I would love to hear from and elaborate on those. So yes, as I was saying, hospitality is one industry which is very demanding. The industry requires that every person has to have that passion that, yes, we can do it. It's not like a regular 9-to-5 corporate job. It's a job which you have to feel from within that, yes, I am into it. I love it. And that's why I'm a part of hospitality, which I haven't studied hospitality, but I became part of hospitality, I would say, just by chance. And believe me, since the time I have been a part of hospitality, I am learning every single day, I would say. There's not been a day when I felt that, okay, I know this very well. Second, I surprised myself by understanding and seeing something which was completely unexplored in the past. So yes, as I said, hospitality is one demanding industry that requires a lot of passion and motivation at each level of the organization, whether you are at the beginning level, like, when our students go for internships, or when you are in middle management or even top management level. Every level requires people to give their best, but also leaders that support, guide, and nurture its employees, because it's not about me, I, myself. It is about us as a team. And when I use these three words, which is support, guide, and nurture, these are very commonly associated with women and their style of management. Because women, wherever they are, whichever field I would say they always make sure that they are supporting others and nurturing. By nature, women have that nurturing, I would say, quality in them. in the hospitality industry, that's one of the reasons. It's time that we now need to recognize how our women or how our female professionals are faring in a field which has been long dominated by men. The good news is that there is a lot of progress. Believe me, there is a lot of progress that's coming up. Women are doing much, much better than ever, especially in service industry. Generally, women tend to do better in senior roles in hospitality. I would say it's quite debatable. Our men folks might say no, it's not so, but it has been seen that because of their calmness, because of their not reaction or reacting instantly, they are able to perform better as they grow higher in the hierarchy. And this could be, I would say, due to their interpersonal skills, their patience, their determination of proving themselves from now and on. Like, every time, every now and then, women need to prove themselves because of the glass ceiling that we have. Not every woman has that comfort or has that luck that she just comes and gets on the top. So I guess because of the determination and less aggressive behavior. By nature, women are less aggressive. It's like if you let them do their things how they want to do. But of course, if you test their patience or if you keep on poking them, then the reaction could be something different. And also the capacity to recognize from their mistakes, because I think very few women have that ego issues. If they feel that they have made a mistake, if they feel that they are not doing the way they should do, they tend to understand what mistakes that they did, apologize, and move further. They don't get stuck to something that I made this mistake, or I should not step down, or I should not say that it was a problem, and things like that. Furthermore, women are more accommodating by nature. And that's also one of the reasons that they are always in a process to learn something new every single day. They tend to listen to their co-workers, respect other points of view, like whatever other peers or other co-workers have to say or talk about, and always are in a process to find solutions to problems. Whether it's their staff, like immediate staff, or someone from other department also, if they are asking them if they are kind of stuck or they don't know what to do. So women don't have those issues that they are in their circle only. They sometimes are in the extended circles as well. They are more encouraging and they are always cooperative in terms of wherever and whenever they can delegate, and tend to be made more patient than the male counterparts. This has been a viewpoint strongly, which I would say has been set forward by Nadia Bernard, principal of Rosenbank, Johannesburg. And she felt that it's always this particular quality of women, that they are more encouraging and ready to delegate, that pushes them further. But still there are challenges, even if everything is great, everything is wonderful, there's always a time that people tend to have certain challenges somewhere or the other. They're coming on. You can't. Very rightly said, Fila, there is no hospitality without women. I am with you, completely with you. And also because of the nature, as I said, there are challenges. It's not something that is completely without challenges. And one of the biggest challenge which our hospitality leaders are facing today is to motivate the employees, is to fulfill and identify the highest potential we have in the people. Because what is happening is, maybe probably because of current COVID situation, there is so much unrest, so much confusion, so much uncertainty in the atmosphere, that people are not clear where they are going. So it's one of the biggest needs to motivate them, to give them the right kind of push. And of course, when we say right kind of push, it is important more because leaders often tend to guide their employees and make their own decisions. And this is only possible when they give them the right kind of platform and constantly put them in those kind of situations. And another thing which is very important, especially now, is failure, because things are not going as planned and something is popping up from any direction which was not planned, or it was not in our to-do list, or it was not in our programmed decision that if this happens, we will do this. When something comes up from any corner, people have to be prepared. And it's a special quality of women, especially because they are managing home. If they have a family, then they have children. If you are a woman who has children as well, so then they have to do the balancing act which we women, I would say, are very, very careful and trained to do. It's by default. Women are like that. They don't need any special training to do it. The other thing which is very important or which needs attention is failure of leadership. If a specific person has not been able to keep the expectations, or if he or she is not able to fulfill those requirements, they get stuck. Some people, they just get stuck. Oh, I'm a failure, I couldn't do it. And that's one thing where one person fails, it's always the women folks with their networking groups, they try to push each other. Men, if they fail, they take it to heart for a long period of time. They feel it's like, I failed as a man. That macho thing comes into action. Whereas women, since they're always in a process of proving themselves, they're always in a process of trying to break the glass ceiling at all points of time. So they are not afraid. They keep on pushing their limits at all times. Additionally, the industry is also facing several challenges, which is the need of customization. Such challenges are the reason why employees often adapt their behavior in order to provide the best possible service in that particular industry. I would like to quote former CEO of PepsiCo, Mrs. Indra Nooyi. She shared an advice when stepping down as a CEO from PepsiCo. And she was very clear when she was stepping down. No one would have thought that she would step down from such a flourishing career that was really booming up. But she said, I've been blessed with an amazing career. But if I'm being honest, there have been some moments when I really missed being with my family, being with my children. So her advice is make the best of those days. Whenever you are with your loved ones, try to be there and make the best so that you can cherish that moment in the long run. Today, there is much more visibility about the need of transparent conversations about gender equality and women in leadership positions, serving as inspiring role models. And what can be accomplished, it's still it's like a big question mark. We keep on having those question marks and we keep on going step further. By that same token, there is a sense that women have achieved what we set out to do. It's like our to-do list keeps on multiplying. We have 5 things to do. Once all the ticks are there, we keep on pushing ourselves to the extreme to go further, which is more in women, especially because they have to, they have to push their limits in such a way that I want to go that far. I want to reach that far. And while we have come so far, we still have a long way to go. That's what women have, and they always keep on saying. Having said that, I very clearly remember when I was back in college, when we had to make a choice what career we want to take in the future. I remember some of my friends, they wanted to choose hospitality. They wanted to study business in hospitality. And I was shocked because those of my friends, they were very good cooks. They knew basic cooking, but they really wanted to make that as their career. But can you believe they were discouraged by their own parents? And some people in the society, like their aunt, uncles, people who were close to them, they were discouraged by saying, why do you need to spend money on something like that? It is anything, anyways, you will know, you will learn it. Once you get married, once you have children, once you have your family, you will anyways know how to cook, how to do those things. Why are you spending your parents' money on something like that? Hotel is not a place for women to work. Leave it for men. Leave it something that is just for men. You can stay in the house or you can take up some other career. There's a lot of exploitation, irregular work hours, shift system, salary discrimination. There are a lot of things. These things are often raised and told to discourage women from taking careers in hospitality. And they were also told, I remember, this is like so clear in my mind right now, that instead, why don't you study something safer? Something that is more close to heart, like a teacher or a nurse. It's a noble profession, and at the same time, you are in a much safer environment. Imagine saying that, I was very shocked when I heard this. I felt it's not something that should have been told to a girl, 18-year-old girl, when she is choosing or when she's wanting to step up and take a career in hospitality. But yes, it did happen with them, and they were very, very discouraged. But then there are success stories of women in hospitality also that demonstrate that female leadership exists. Yes, female leadership exists at all levels, but this is just that you need to look deep and further. The management style and culture by providing a more accommodating and nurturing environment. Female leaders score higher, much, much higher on transformational leadership aspects as they would share or as they would in a corporate leadership. But in the global economy at large, they are always having that, like a patient listening, a heart, empathy, which is very much required in the industry right now. One has to be empathetic, one has to be having that caring attitude that she steps down or she steps forward to hold other person's hand and ask, what is it? How can I help you? They tend to listen, and they have that I would say they have that patient hearing at all times, doesn't matter which level they are. And it has been seen that female general managers inculcate the value of cooperation and teamwork. They often delegate and try to understand others' viewpoint before stepping out or before sharing their own ideas. Additionally, it has been seen women, especially in hospitality, demonstrate high performance on organizational work and problem solving. They're also good at financial management as well as general management of the building or general management of the property. And when we say that, I would again like to quote, according to 2020 Women in Hospitality Industry Leadership Report from American Hotel of Lodging Foundation, it said, women have taken more leadership roles. 7 women were promoted to CEO in 2018-2019, a 20% increase from the previous report. And yes, it is still going. It is still going. So academically, it has been seen that we are having those reports, or we are having those, I would say, figures which are going up. Let me see. Yes, very true, very true. I can see it's a very cultural thing. I can see the change happened after seeing employees. Very true, Fatima, very true. It is happening. The change is happening all over. But in some countries, it's very fast. You can see that women are parents are changing, but in some countries it's still slow. It's still not there as it is in Europe or in other developed countries. And Zandil is asking, is seen as a non-challenging career than those of weak academically? Yes, very true, very true. These are some of the things which needs to be changed. It's just a mindset. Again, it's a mindset which needs to change. Even though figures are going higher, percentage is going higher, but still there are talks where people think, if you can't achieve this, or if you couldn't be a successful in medicine or engineering or something which is more challenging, okay, at least you have hospitality. Sometimes it's a mindset that needs to be changed. We can't put a career, any career, down or up against other ones. Then also, according to Pilar Arizmendi, she is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Palladium Hotel Group. She says women now have the opportunity to become leaders in a historically male-dominated industry. And companies are putting much more emphasis on gaining and retain female talent for leadership positions. It's like, everywhere, like if you see, whenever a woman is coming up at a leadership role or a top CEO level, it's always published in the news. It always comes, first CEO, first general manager. Why are we making this so big? It has been there. It's not that women need to have that push, but the thing is, we are making it more loud and clear because in the past, they were refused these positions by saying that she's the weaker sex. She may not be able to take extra burden. She will not be able to do extra things which other male counterparts can do easily. There are certainly more opportunities in the 21st century, which we are seeing now, than it was in the past. And many more women have made their mark in the industry, in the globe, I would say, as hotel owners or taking care of their parents' businesses, which was more for boys initially, but now is moving for girls as well, as for the daughters as well, and also getting more senior executive levels. And I remember now more and more in terms of diversity, if you see, it is really happening that having more women in leadership positions is giving them a more different look, because when a woman joins a business or when they are in the premises, they start thinking of it as their home. They start thinking of it as their property, what they can do to make it better. Like, all the employees, suddenly they become like a family, which sometimes you don't see in men so much. With women, it's like very common because they have that maternalistic, I would say, instinct that they start thinking of everyone as a part of the family. Again, quoting Arizmendi, she agreed that while progress has been impressive, but still there's lots and lots of things to do. Especially in an industry which is led more by men, a major challenge is leveling up and playing the field and showing representation of equality across the board. So let's say in some hotels, when there is cutthroat competition between a male and female colleague who are going to be promoted as the GM, it has been seen most of the times, even if both are equally qualified, both come from the similar background, everything is the same, but still it has been seen that there is always that extra push given to men, which is changing now. In the past, it was given to men more, but now it is changing. Since few years, we have seen the shift coming more towards women, which is great because it's always seen when you bring about a change, even though people don't like change, but when the change happens and people start getting used to, because they see the difference, they see the impact it is creating, then they're quite okay and they start accepting it. And it's always important, wherever you see such kind of things, it's always important to lead by examples. I always tell to my students, even here, I always tell to my students that it's important to see what is working well in a situation and try to grab it and try to work on it. I mean, my I would say journey in hospitality started when I joined Hotel Institute Montreux in 2007, I was here teaching human resources management. So even though I was teaching a business course, but I was seeing other things from hospitality point of view. I was seeing other things from how is it to run a company? How is it to run a hotel? And the more and more I was reading examples from hotel industry, the more and more I started becoming much aware of, wow, it is a different perspective altogether. It's not like a regular 9-to-5 job. It's much, much more. And to conclude my session, I would really want, if you can pose questions related, I would be very, very happy, because I prefer, it's always nice when we have an interaction, rather sharing of information or PowerPoint slides, because these days we have already been doing a lot of it. So to conclude my session, I would like to quote Stephanie Linnartz, who is the Global Chief Commercial Officer at Marriott International. And she says, being a strong and effective leader can be challenging at times. We all know that. But it is also incredibly rewarding. We are all challenged with insecurities of different kinds. No human is immune from the feeling, but it's how we acknowledge those insecurities. It's how we take those insecurities, preserve them despite the fact that it is not giving us immediate results or it's not instant gratification, but leverage our strengths that really defines us as leaders. Because it's very important. Only when we accept the things though they are and try to bring something on the table, that's a plus, because that's what makes people go further, and that's what makes people understand things in a much, much better way. Thank you very much. I think I'll leave the floor open, and I'm very much looking forward to the questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ruby Bakshi Kerdi, for your wonderful insight. And for me as a woman, this speech felt very important, and unfortunately don't have time for live questions, but there will be questions in the chat for you to answer.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you once again. The next speaker of the day will be the CEO and founder of Competitive Analytics, Mr. Dr. Savlowitz. He's going to be talking about the growth of data science, analytics, and hospitality, which is also part of our program here in SHMS in the module called Data-Driven Decision Making. Now we're going to go live from California. Good morning, Mr. Savlowitz, and thank you for being with us early this morning.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me. Okay, good. And then final test here. Welcome, everybody. I just want to make sure you can see my screen. So let's. Okay, so you should see some flashing numbers on your screen. This is an eye test. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right, let's begin. Thank you. So again, thank you very much for inviting me to this wonderful webinar. Thank you to Swiss Education Groups, SHMS, of course, World of Hospitality, I Meet Hotel, and of course, a special thanks to Ludwig as well, as I remove all these Zoom controls off my screen because it's hard for me to actually see anything. Okay. So 20 minutes, analytics and hospitality. This is a tall order. And I think the metaphor here is drinking out of a fire hose. I crafted 20 different types of hospitality analytics that will add value to just about any service-based entity you can think of. Just quickly about who I am and the company I run. Again, CEO, founder of Competitive Analytics. I'm also a professor of Predictive Analytics at UCI Irvine, visiting professor at SEG. If I had to describe myself, I guess I'm a provocateur, someone who loves to debate and argue, and then someone who probably could be classified as a bricoleur. Very quickly, our office in Newport Beach, we're headed in California. And just a very quick little tour about who we are. We're a full service analytics company covering all data and analytics services, partners to some of the best in class software companies. And our clients are arrayed in just about every industry you can imagine, to Fortune 500 companies all the way down to the smallest of SMBs. We have a very different and unique approach. And if I had to sum up everything about what we do in a mantra, it would be starting with the Latin phrase sapere aude, which translated means dare to know. A lot of academic institutions have this. After a few years, I thought there was something grossly missing, and I inverted these words to discover kind of our true vision, which is really how to break rules, how to innovate, which is a very key theme to doing a good job with data and analytics. So let's talk about the current state of analytics, okay? First, there's some very, very good news, right? Companies, based on a survey by MIT and IBM, top performing organizations are 5 times more likely to be using analytics versus low performance. So that's obviously the good news. But there is a host of bad news. 95% of businesses only use 5% of the value of their own data. Furthermore, only 7% of organizations really truly track the indicators that actually drive their business. And a recent Accenture report talks about the fact that only 24% of their employees are actually literate about using data. Now, specifically though, one of the key areas of analytics is predictive analytics. It is literally ranked #1 as far as all the different types of analytics out there. And this is just an analytical chart on analytics, if you will, where you can see predictive analytics is the highest usage of analytics that companies are planning to use for the next 3 years and thereafter. So to sum up, the good news is that analytics is being used more and more by companies, especially in hospitality, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But predictive analytics specifically is being used in just about every single field you can imagine. So now we're going to talk about, in a very quick way, 20 types of analytics, hospitality analytics. And this is sort of, again, the metaphorical drinking through the fire hose. So I'm going to try to go as quickly but as clearly as possible. So the first one is guest analytics, right? And this is deciphering guest preferences, demographics, patterns of behavior, et cetera, et cetera. Very, very important as an obvious point. But it's more than just deciding or understanding that a guest likes a cheeseburger versus an apple, all right? It's really about understanding all the choices that are available and what preferences your guests do like and will like, okay? And it's not just about products or tangible things. It's obviously about services, about the experiences, memories, and moments, all right? Now, a lot of companies put a lot of effort into this area with demographics. And yes, it's a very valuable way of understanding the data of guests, right? I mean, if I look at a simple demographic here of a male born in 1948, raised in the UK, married twice, lives in a castle, very wealthy and very famous, you think probably of the demographic that aligns with Prince Charles. However, guests are way more than just the data, specifically the demographic data, right? There's persona and psychometrics and behavior. So let's take a look at another individual that has the exact same demographics as Prince Charles, right? Probably a quite different type of guest. that would have different preferences. Number 2, supplier analytics, right? This is selecting an optimized team of vendors. What does that mean? It means all the products, all the services that a hotel or hospitality entity provides, from guest amenities, expendables, essentials, loan items. These are items that bear the fruit of understanding the data behind them. Now, the most important amenity I can possibly think of is premium coffee. Every time I go to a hotel, I love their coffee. Number 3, competitive intelligence. Okay, this is a systematic collection of data and analytics from many, many sources. And it's not just the primary sources, they're secondary, tertiary, analog, substitute competitive forces. And when I talk about analog and substitute competitive forces, this broadens the horizon of what most people think of as competitive intelligence. For instance, if you're Hyatt and you're only thinking of Marriott, it's very short-sighted. You need to be starting to think about Airbnb, right? And what a disruptive force they've been in the industry, right? And understanding how Airbnb guests are different than hotel guests, yet are within the same field of data. Number 4, competitive product segmentation. This is essentially competitive landscaping and competitive mapping, right? It's about understanding the potentially different value adds of not just your portfolio, but the property, the specific room, the feature, the service, et cetera, et cetera. All right. I mean, here's an example of automobiles in a simple way, where you got luxury versus economy and family automobiles versus 2-seaters, and how you can segment companies and products thereof. You can even do this with snacks. The objective here and the message is that understanding the competitive landscape is critical, and doing this through data and analytics in a hospitality context is pretty critical. So understanding the entire landscape of the service industry is quite important. Number 5, dynamic price optimization. Okay, this is tracking real-time booking data and implementing agile pricing tactics and strategies. Okay, now, obviously, if I had way more time, I talk about econometrics and price optimization, but enough to say that it's very important for any hospitality entity to really understand their costs and their revenues in a very nuanced manner to understand how to optimize. This is actually an example of a live client dashboard that does exactly that. So all that boring stuff that you learned in economics, macroeconomics and microeconomics is actually used and should be used in the hospitality industry. Number 6, promotion analytics, right? This is your discounts, your premiums, offers, tailor-made packages. They include just about anything in which a discount is offered to a guest, and then analyzing why you're doing it, right? Does it bring value to the guest and to the portfolio? Number 7, channel mix optimization. Okay, this is again analyzing bookings in the context of, say, OTA, direct bookings website, word of mouth, any type of channel that could be analyzed. The example here is, at the end of the day, you want to understand the proportions of how you're spending your money on the channel mix. Marketing strategy optimization is all about, again, sort of an optimization of building awareness and all the different modes. In this case, in today's world, a lot of that has to do with social media optimization. Number 9, what if demand forecasting. Of course, I'm a bit biased about this one since it deals with predictive analytics, but the simple way to describe this is anticipating demand by customer type, product, substitute, room, services, et cetera, et cetera. And this is, again, something very critical to understand your business and to evolve. This, again, is another live example of a what if forecast dashboard that looks 5 years out of a company's revenue growth. Trend forecasting is another important part of the hospitality analytics ecoscape, if you will. It's understanding the tastes, preferences, and the SWOT, the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of all the dimensions of your business. Now, just as a wild example here, understanding the trend in chocolate chip cookies might or might not be something that might attach to some type of service or amenity that you're thinking about. And understanding the tastes and preferences of chocolate chip cookies in a data and analytics way is pretty critical. And understanding the historical trends and perhaps the forecast thereof. Number 11, occupancy optimization. This is obviously targeting a profit-driven level of occupancy versus supply, inventory, and a lot of other demand forecasting dimensions. The only thing I can add here is that I can add quite a lot, but just based on the time and constraints here, the one point I wanted to get across is that most people have this operational goal of 100% occupancy. And is this correct? And to me, it is a myth. It is not something that should be strived for as an end-all be-all goal. And that is because economics and optimization algorithms will show you, will provide evidence that this is not the case, that there is some occupancy level, and this changes obviously dynamically through the year, if not day by day, on what your occupancy level should be based on a host of all cost and revenue drivers. And typically it's not 100%. Number 12, cost minimization. So this is a field that gets a lot of controversy because there are some CEOs and leaders that believe that this is where you grow your bottom line. And that's obviously not something that should be emphasized in a vacuum. That cost minimization is something that's important and should be looked at, but not by forfeiting future comfort, future benefits of the guests, because that actually drives future revenue as well. So it is a balance, but it is something that needs to be looked at. Again, you can think of it as cost analysis versus quality, efficiency, and revenue growth. HR and people analytics is another fast and popular growing field within analytics, and especially hospitality analytics. It's essentially the data behind hiring, firing, promoting, compensating, providing bonuses, scheduling, evolving your employees' growth, et cetera, et cetera. Number 14, amenity service feature optimization. This is what we call price value optimization. This deserves probably 5 hours to talk about, but let me just explain with a couple of slides what I mean. Essentially, price is what a guest pays, and value is what a guest gets. Okay, just paraphrasing Warren Buffett. And so we literally built a model that looks at this, where we look at every single value dimension and value component that possibly could exist at an apartment, a hotel, a residential home, what have you, right? And then we looked at each of these as a data point. And if you plotted just those with, say, one dimension, square footage, if you see on the bottom of the chart there, you're going to get a very low correlation. No matter how you conduct your analytics, whether you're driving linear relationships, exponential, polynomial, it's probably specious at best. But if you use a value versus price, where that bottom axis, the x-axis, is a consolidation, a composite of many, many different value dimensions, square footage being one of them, then you get a very tight correlation. And the point here is that the buyer, the guest, the hotel guest, really feels and perceives this value. And so the job of the analytics guy or girl at the hospitality company is to try to understand the relationship between dollars and value. And value could be not just specific value, but perceived value. Number 15, finance and accounting. Probably what you can consider maybe the most esoteric or boring part, but a lot of analytics and data drives through the finance and accounting departments because that's where all the numbers are generated. So again, a very important dimension of hospitality analytics. Acquisition disposition analytics, of course, companies look at buying assets and selling assets. So understanding the accretive versus decremental dimensions of every asset is pretty critical. ROI and ROA are important, return on investment and return on assets, just two of many different metrics to use. Number 17 is competitive strategy. And competitive strategy here really relates to very long-term scenario-based analyses and decision-making. Now, one of the favorite models I use to teach this, to train, to consult with is Michael Porter's 5 forces model, right? We don't have time to go through this, but it's a very good framework for understanding not just the present situation, but long-term objectives for a company, especially in the hospitality industry. Many, many books are written on this. And so I invite you to go seek that out. There's lots of books on strategy. And the counter to long-term strategy is short-term operational tactics. That's the day-to-day operating decisions. Okay, and that's obviously very important to understand as well, and with lots and lots of data that brings to bear on those decisions. Number 19 is transaction analysis. This is very detailed line item, dimension-oriented transaction analysis. Every single transaction and component recorded and cross-tabulated by every possible dimension. Now, what do I mean by that? I just kind of threw out a bunch of words there that most of you are thinking, what does that all mean? So I'll give you an illustration I like to show, which is really the job of anybody that's analyzing data. And this goes not just for hospitality, but every single industry and every single case in which you're looking at data and analytics. It's to understand the relationships, the how a variable or one or two variables relate with each other. That's almost the secret sauce of analytics. So let's just say we had 6 KPIs, which stands for key performance indicators. These are like your internal metrics like revenue and costs and occupancy and things of that nature. And then let's just say we have 6 external drivers. This could be job growth, it could be competitive annual daily rates. It could be a whole host of external metrics outside your company. So the job of someone who is looking at analytics or conducting analytics is to literally look at every single possible interrelationship. Okay. Now, what you might think is, okay, well, there's only 12 variables up there. So if you look at paired combinations, there's only 66. I can do that with a simple spreadsheet, I guess. And if I look at all combinations, right, there's a little over 4,000. Excel can probably still handle that. But in this day and age of machine learning and AI, if you look at every single permutation, there's well over 1.3 billion. So this demands big data analysis using much more sophisticated advanced programs than a spreadsheet. Finally, and I should say last, but certainly not least, perhaps even the prime goal is the guest experience maximization. And again, you would think, well, how do you do that with data? And of course, with everything I just mentioned, the aforementioned 19 dimensions, a lot of those are qualitative and can be brought to bear on some type of guest experience index score, if you will. And again, to track this, to talk to your guests, to use more qualitative methods is highly recommended, excuse me, in order to understand the guest experience and to maximize their experience. So there's a summary, excuse me, of all 20 of the types of hospitality analytics that we just went over. Looking at my time here, I'm at 18 minutes and 4 seconds, so pretty good. And just a couple of last slides here. There are many, many data and analytics tools. These are just 25 that are sort of in our wheelhouse. And I guess I should just allow me to ask one question to the audience here. You know, the correlation, is there a correlation between hospitality versus Maslow's hierarchy of needs? And so essentially here, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a very insightful pyramid of needs, if you will, starting with food, water, shelter, and working your way all to the pinnacle of that experience of a guest's, say, activities where they feel some form of self-actualization in their stay. I would contend, you know, half jokingly, maybe 80% jokingly, that analytics should be a foundational piece below Maslow's, and then probably the most important part that everyone often forgets about is high-speed Wi-Fi. So I want to thank everyone that's joined the webinar. I'm sorry, and I apologize ahead of time for my rapidity in speech and the speed in which I went through those 20, but I wanted to make sure that I covered quite a bit of topics. And thank you from Newport Beach. And yeah, I was happy to present the growth of data science, analytics, and hospitality. If we have any questions, I certainly will take them, or we could just, like I've mentioned, or I've heard in the previous chats, we could do that via chat.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Slabowitz. And now we know about the 20 types of analytics in hospitality. Very good and interesting. And we have time for one question. So what do you say? Do we have one?
We have a question here from the chat, and it says, do you think we will be, sorry, let me take that again. Do you think we will actually have the prediction method still being the best in 20 years' time with the development that's happening around the world?
So predictive analytics is getting better and better. And what happened at SHMS in the fall here, I taught a class there, is that we experimented with a gamification of predictive analytics where most of the students, over 100, didn't have much experience with data and analytics at all. And we did a predictive analytics simulation and gamification where they made 16 predictions. And we have a live dashboard up online that shows what I was not prepared to see, a finding in which most of the students actually improved on their predictive analytics capabilities. It's a kind of an amazing finding. And so when you look at that, and then the question is, where are we going to be in 20 years? I can definitely tell you that we're going to evolve in our decision-making when it comes to the future. Now, that said, I'll add something that I just saw as an email 2 days ago. One of my colleagues sent me. One of the big international consulting companies was hawking a service in which they can automate their entire forecasting and predictive analytics functions for a company, where you just push a button and out comes a forecast. And I think this is foolhardy to think of. And I think even in 20 years, that's just not going to happen. Forecasting and predictive analytics is an art and a science. Okay, I should probably say a science and an art. And human intuition and human creativity is going to be foundational to the success and the evolution of how we evolve our forecasting. We're just not even close to just having a computer take over and make, every single nuanced future decision. So, but we are improving, and with a combination of human intuition and machine learning and AI, we're going to make great strides.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your wise answers. And at this point in time, I just wanted to ask him a question. I know it's cliche, but what comes to your mind when we talk about Switzerland?
I would say chocolate. That's what's come to mind right now.
I mean, for me, it's actually luxury watch brands. But I mean, you're also right. We can also talk about chocolate. And at this point in time, I'd like to take you on a wonderful tour of the most famous chocolate factory that we have here. And that's actually Lindt. And our kitchen team actually went over there and will provide you with a workshop video.
Hello everyone, my name is Maha Fatani and I am the sous chef of the kitchen department in the WOH event, and today we are in Zurich City in Switzerland visiting one of the most famous chocolate museums in the world. We will have a sneak peek on the chocolate making process, starting from the cacao fruit until the lovely piece of chocolate. We will discover also some fascinating facts about chocolate. So we will go to Lindt, home of chocolate museum. So let's get started. Here we are in front of Lindt, home of chocolate. So let's check it out.
Okay, my name is Yating and I'm the tour guide of the museum. So later, for the following 19 minutes, I will guide you through the museum. And besides, we will also try different kinds of chocolate. And if you have any questions, stop me anytime.
Of course, interesting. So let's start.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
and then we showed people the plantation first. At the very first beginning of this museum is Switzerland is very famous for its chocolate production, but we actually do not have the most important raw materials for making chocolate. So here we will see how farmers in Ghana work with their cocoa trees. We have a cocoa fruit here, and we cut it open. If you look closely, this is the a little bit brownish part. This is the cocoa seeds. This is what we use to make chocolate. And how about the white part? Is we call
flesh.
Right, the flesh part. So the seeds would have like 20% of the fruit, and the flesh part is also 25%, and the outside part is about 50%. So we want to see how farmers like use every part of it. So please.
We continue?
Oh, yes, we continue, and we will stop at this video. So after they remove the flesh from the cocoa fruit, this is the most important process of making cocoa beans. We call it fermentation. So the farmers would actually pile up the cocoa fruits. Here it started from the beginning. Okay, it's probably easier. So you see them like they would like open it, and you could also see like the tools they use. So the husk, the outside part, is used as fertilizer. So like everything is used. So you see like this is still white. So this is before fermentation. And underneath is the banana leaves. So they will cover that for fermentation for about a week. And the process will give like the cocoa beans a very special flavor and taste. So after 1 week, they would open it and then move to next process. This here. On your right-hand side here, this photo, you actually see one of the farmer. Like I mentioned earlier, 90% of the cocoa farmers are like from like small scale. So after fermentation, you see like they will put the brown seeds on the mats like this for drying. So it actually look like this. And you see this is the tool they use to turn the cocoa beans. So underneath will not get moldy.
Oh.
The reason that we want to show visitors is that you see like all of the work they've done is actually quite labor intensive.
Exactly.
You do not see one single machine
Yes.
at the plantation.
That is true. Yes.
Any more questions?
So maybe I have a question. So Switzerland, where do they get the cacao fruit from?
You mean, okay, it depends on like which producer they will get their cocoa beans from different country. If I take Lind for an example, our beans are from Ghana. So actually Ghana and Ivory Coast, those two countries, they export more than 50% of the worldwide cocoa beans. So usually are those two countries. There are some others. Later we will have a look.
Okay, of course.
Okay.
And another question, so what is the weather condition exactly the cacao fruit needs? Or like the cacao tree needs? Yes.
You mean the weather for that?
Yes.
If you look at here, it's very green, right? Most of the countries that produce cocoa beans, they are tropical countries. So like it has to be humid, it has to have lots of rain, and the temperature has to be stable, like between like 20 to 30. So Switzerland would not have the chance.
Yes, of course. Yes, it will be. Yes.
Right.
And what is usually the height of the cacao tree?
The highest, actually in the wild, it could grow up to 15 meters.
15 meters?
Yeah,
Oh.
15. But in like you see the plantations, they are not very tall. The farmers would like trim them to around 4 meters. So the reason is that it's easier to harvest.
Yes.
The cocoa fruits. That's why they will trim them. They will not let them grow like too high.
Yes. Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
of
you.
course.
great to hear
So
that.
I would like to thank you so much.
Thank you very
for the
much.
tour.
Thank
so
you.
it was our pleasure actually to
It's also
listen.
my pleasure.
The high quality of Swiss chocolate has tons of secrets that made it iconic worldwide. And now, after we have dug into the Swiss chocolate world, we are one of the luckiest people in the world who got to know these secrets. Stay happy and eat chocolate.
Now, after having a nice introduction to the chocolate world in Lent, we will make our own chocolate in school from scratch. We are going to show you how to make chocolate from fresh cacao pods. To make the chocolate, we got the cacao beans from Ecuador, where they have the best cacao pods in the world. First, we take the cacao pods and cut them into halves and take out the cacao beans. This is the cacao beans from inside. Then, we are going to let them ferment for 1 full week. This process usually takes 6 to 10 days. After the beans are fully fermented, they will turn red. So this is what it looks like after a week. The next process is to dry the cacao beans. This could be done naturally by the sun drying or using a dehydrator. We put the fermented cacao beans into the dehydrator for 7 days, controlling the temperature between 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. The next step is to roast them for 2 hours at 40 degrees Celsius and stir them for every 20 minutes. The finished product looks like this. The last step before blending them into chocolate bars is to remove the coats. Then we're getting our homemade cacao nibs. Here we have our cacao nibs, which you may recognize on your acai bowls or smoothies. Then, we are going to blend the cacao nibs we got with some sugar, depending on your preferences. We are going to blend it until it becomes a fine paste. Then, we are going to put it into the mold and let it freeze. As you can see, our chocolate came out with a very smooth texture, which is exactly what we want. And that right there is our homemade chocolate.
I'm craving chocolate now.
Oh wow.
Someone read my mind.
I'm sure you're not the only one craving chocolate right now. Good job to our kitchen team, and a big thank you to the Lynn Chocolate Factory for allowing us to get more insight of what they do and allowing us to showcase their factory.
Yeah, and let's have a look back at our theme of the event, human-oriented hospitality. And as humans, we have to care about our planet and take actions. And the past years, sustainability has become a big topic and a very important topic for us and for hospitality, now more than ever. And this brings us to our last speaker of today, Ms. Lauren Dalmatorf, representing One Tree Planted organization. She will talk about human-centric sustainability within the hospitality industry. Good morning, Ms. Lauren. How are you over in California?
Hi, good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for having me here today. This is super exciting.
It's a pleasure, man.
Cool. So I'll go ahead and share here. And then we should be good there on the slides. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm super excited to tell you a little bit about One Tree Planted, the work that we do, and kind of how that relates to sustainability within hospitality and just in your lives overall. So I am our school program manager. I work with students of all ages on all sorts of different projects, anywhere from learning about trees, planting trees, learning about sustainability, learning about all sorts of topics related to that. And it's a super fun job and I love it a lot. So I'm super happy to be here and share a little bit with you guys. Let's see here. There we go. So One Tree Planted is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we plant trees all over the world. It's a very simple mission, but it's a lot of really hard work and very rewarding work. We plant all over the world now, which is super awesome and exciting to see. And all of that is due to extremely amazing partnerships that are so foundational and important. We work with WRI, the US Forest Service, CAL FIRE, and tons of other amazing organizations, as well as partners on the ground. That's how we're able to get all of our planting done. We partner with local organizations on the ground that really know the community the best and are able to, you know, do all of the amazing, super great work that we need. And I always like to mention how important these partnerships are, because I can imagine hospitality is the same way. We're all in it together. We all have the same goal of, you know, our goal is to get as many trees planted as possible. And if you're working in hospitality, I would imagine your goal is to provide a really great experience for guests and make sure they feel safe and comfortable. And at the end of the day, like, we really are all working together towards these same goals. So it's super great to be able to partner with all sorts of different organizations and just kind of put all our resources in and work together to make awesome things happen. So like I mentioned, we plant trees all around the world, which is a huge, awesome endeavor. Last year alone, we planted over 10 million trees. This year, we're hoping 25 million, maybe a little bit more. We're not so sure yet, but it's super exciting to see how quickly we're growing and expanding and just really adding new locations to the map. When I started, we were mostly in North America, South America, and Africa, and now we've expanded to so many new places, planting in Europe and Australia, and really just seeing where there's need and then responding to that and making sure that we're finding really great partners on the ground so that we can plant trees and have this awesome network all over the world. And when we plant trees, we always like to focus on the 6 pillars of reforestation. And I thought this would be important to include just because when we're talking about incorporating sustainability in people's lives, it's really important to make sure we give them tangible things that they can understand and really break it down in a way that they can walk away feeling like they know what they're talking about, that they connect to it and they resonate with it in a way. So we like to use the 6 pillars as a way to explain why planting trees is important, why we should even care about that. So you can see them there: air, water, biodiversity, social impact, health, and climate. And these are super cool because our projects relate to each of these in slightly different ways. So for example, we might have a project in the Amazon rainforest that really, really emphasizes biodiversity, because we know that's a place where a lot of the world's biodiversity is. So when we use a project there, we're able to share that story and relate that to donors and people's lives, and people can really see that and think, oh, I want to make an impact on biodiversity. And we have a perfect project for them to do so. Whereas we have other projects that maybe, planting mangrove trees are really important for clearing out water systems and providing habitat within water. So that one could hit water. If we're planting trees in an urban reforestation area, that one's really cool for air, especially in a city. And health, planting trees in an urban environment around a city or even at a hotel or something like that can really be important for human health. It can provide shade, which is super important, especially maybe if you're planting at a school, as well as help reduce stress and anxiety and provide people with a comfort feeling like they have nature around them. And I think that's also very important within hospitality, making sure that people are comfortable. So planting trees can be a really great way to do that. And then, we have social impact. We have projects in Rwanda that are specifically helping communities of women start nurseries and provide financial income so that they can feed their families, and planting agroforestry so that they can harvest fruit and really create this sustainable social ecosystem, which is super cool and exciting. And then, of course, we all know about climate. Trees helping to reduce greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide is very important, and a really big one when we're talking about sustainable development goals and all of these other things that are so top of mind right now. Trees are a really great way to address climate action. So I wanted to share, this is a sustainable travel guide that we have that we share with a lot of our community when they ask. So I just wanted to go through some ideas of things that I think could be helpful, either, to offer to guests, to think about yourself, just kind of things related to travel and hospitality that I think would be good ideas. So one would be looking at your transportation. Is there a way that you can get around even while you're traveling, other than just, always hopping in an Uber? I know I do that a lot. When you could probably bike or walk, sometimes when you don't know where you are, you just want to hop in an Uber. But encouraging guests to take a walk or maybe rent a bike or something can be a great way to reduce your climate impact and also get to see a new area more, which is pretty exciting. Having guests choose accommodations wisely. So choosing places that are green certified or take specific actions to be more sustainable can be very appealing to a lot of guests. So on both sides, making sure that there's some attention to that. Volunteer tourism. So we want to make sure that there are opportunities for people when they're coming somewhere to volunteer or get out and make an impact in that local community. We offer tree planting events all over the world. So that's one example, but there are all sorts of, it could be a beach cleanup. It could be any sort of restoration work. It could be helping to build trails if someone's staying in like a mountain town. There's all sorts of ways that people can volunteer, and it's a great way to meet people from the community and kind of get a feel for the place that you're at while also making a really good impact. So volunteering while you're traveling, I think, is such a great idea and such a great way to spend your time. Dining locally, of course, finding restaurants that maybe source their food locally or are just small local businesses can make a really big impact. Making sure that there are opportunities for guests to give feedback, and if you are staying somewhere that is super eco-friendly, leave a review or tell someone and help spread that word so that people can find these options more easily. And then donating to sustainable travel, if you're able to, organizations that work directly with local communities and pay attention to making an environmental and social impact are really important, either staying there or, if you're able to, choosing them for your donations. Go green or go home. It's important to try and follow as many of your own sustainability rules as you can. So within that, I think it's really interesting that when like if I think about any time I've traveled, you're kind of put in this interesting position where you don't necessarily have access to all of the decisions you would typically make. So as an individual, there are things I can do to make sure that I can still live by my same sustainability rules. But I think there are also things that the hospitality industry can do to make those choices easier. So, you know, when your choices are limited, sometimes you're going to have to choose things that kind of aren't the most sustainable, or maybe don't go necessarily with what you would like to choose, but your options are limited. You're traveling. I know I've been in that situation lots of times. It's late, there are no other options. You just kind of have to do what you can, but making sure that those options are provided can be really a really good way to help encourage people to take those choices. I've heard it described for like elementary school salad bars as well. It's kind of a cool analogy. They put all of the vegetables first, because when you have an empty plate and you're walking through, you're more likely to fill your plate up with vegetables and then take more of the stuff at the end. Whereas if they reversed it, they've tried it, kids will fill up on everything else and then get to the end and they don't take a single vegetable. So providing those sustainable options first and foremost, so it's top of mind, easy to do, feels really natural, can be really important. Number 8, if you are going to be traveling, you can try visiting smaller, more sustainable communities, making sure that you're doing that very respectfully and just being aware of your choices. You know, there's a time and place for, I think, every type of vacation or every type of travel or journey, but making sure that you are conscious of those decisions. And then planting trees, of course. If you don't have time to plant a tree, you can make donations in honor of your travel. You can plant trees to kind of combat that carbon that you might be producing by flying or traveling somewhere. But like I said before, there are lots of ways to volunteer and plant trees as well. So that could be a really great way to spend your time when you are traveling. And that's all I have for ideas for that right now. Thank you guys so much for listening to me. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have about One Tree Planted, about sustainability, about anything at all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Damoto, for reminding us that sustainability is everyone's responsibility. Whilst we wait for the chat room to be filled up with questions for you, we have one question for you, and Emma will ask a question.
What would you say was the biggest achievement for One Tree Planted so far?
Ooh. Yeah, biggest achievement overall?
Sorry?
Like the biggest achievement overall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think just expanding to new locations has been a really big achievement for us. It's something that we've been working towards for a long time. Of course, growing and expanding means bringing more people on the team, and we have an amazing team. So it's super cool to see new people jumping in and just adding more locations so we can keep making an impact in lots of different places.
Okay.
That sounds good. Let's see if we have some questions in the chat. What do you think hotels can do internally today to head down the road of sustainability?
That's a good question. I think it depends on what type of sustainability they want to pursue. I think there are a lot of little ways that can add up a lot. So things like offering guests more eco-friendly options is really good. I love the offer that a lot of hotels have these days to not have their towels washed every day. Stuff like that can make a really big impact, and a lot of people are happy to make those decisions. Looking at ways that you can maybe reduce energy costs, things like that. I think about like, I don't know. It just kind of depends on where you are and what your goals are exactly. I think incorporating more sustainable things from the start can be really good. So looking at where you're sourcing your materials, where you're getting all of your products from, what kind of cleaning products you're using, stuff like that. And then also stuff you can do on the back end, like making donations or partnering with someone like One Tree Planted to plant trees for each guest that arrives, or any little thing like that. Those can all make a really big impact.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your answers. If there are any other questions, I'm sure they'll be in the chat room and you can address them there. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, same to you.
Okay, it was a great pleasure to host this event, and now we would like to hand it over to our Word of Hospitality Student Event Director, Ms. Koja. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Now we're crossing over to Koja.
Thank you, Emma and Solomon, for the very warm introduction. It's such a great pleasure of mine given the opportunity to have a speech here on behalf of Swiss Hotel Management School, the World of Hospitality, as well as our lovely team. And wow, I'm quite impressed by our speakers. And even now at this moment, I'm still indulged in the massive sea of fabulous ideas. From the amazing opening speech given by Mr. Michael Bros, we could see the unique spirit of an entrepreneur who succeeds an outstanding brand to be true. And the most important thing that we learn is we never give up. Never, never. Because there will always be something that we don't know and brings you to the other side of success. And the concept brought out by Miss Kiki da Costa was truly wonderful. Hospitality is about diversity. It could be linked with everything. Mindfulness just touches the soft part of us as a human. And one thing I learned is just to be kind to ourselves. We need to be kind, especially in this hospitality industry. And all the way to our entrepreneurship journey in Saudi, I believe the insights from Mr. Salman Ghassim's speech would be really valuable for our career, especially for the students who are interested in setting up their own business. But to start our business, what he mentioned about is really important. We need to set up our mindset to be what we need to be and think about that, like what kind of person we want to be, what kind of business we want to run about, and what we need to be prepared about. And I love the speech given by Dr. Bakshi Kerdi and her way to encourage women to make a difference, to disrupt the status quo. Nowadays, women are indeed taking more leadership roles, which we have to admit has likely made a difference in the industry and even the world. Another strong element of human-oriented hospitality, data science analytics, a powerful topic perfectly delivered by Mr. David Zablowitz. Data analysis does not only reflect the new trends of hospitality, but also shows our adaptability to any unknown as human beings. And when we trigger the word unknown, what immediately comes to my mind is our mysterious but vulnerable planet. World of Hospitality is aligned with the excellence vision with Ms. Lauren Damatov. Any action taken matters, as she mentioned. We are so glad given the opportunity to become a partner with One Tree Planted, to have 1,000 trees planted in the Aiders by World of Hospitality, by our student body. We believe any little thing we do will end up with a difference in the future, especially as one of the leading hospitality schools in the world. We believe we always keep this up and we always do the right things. Thank you, Ms. Lauren, for the inspiration. And apart from all the impressive speeches given by our amazing speakers, we hope you also enjoy the 2 workshops created by our service and kitchen team. We are delighted to have the support from Mahant as well as Link Chocolate. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our sponsors. Thanks Mahant for the liquors. Thanks Johan the Mons for the candies. Thanks Misotic Creations for the flowers. Thanks T-shirt for the lanyards. Thanks Mikolosh Wine for the wines. We are grateful to have all our speakers, partners and sponsors. All of them have added different colors and elements to paint this beautiful picture of our events. Affected by the pandemic and other challenges, we believe we have stepped into a new era of events as well as the hospitality industry. As students, we have learned a lot from this new trend. We believe anything we learned from this event will always be with us in the future. Thanks again for our lovely school and Amenity Hotel for this platform, and thanks to all the speakers for your valuable topics, and our event partners and sponsors for your support. And thanks to all the audience for your interest and time. We now come to the end of our webinar. I hope the Human-Oriented Hospitality Edition touches you somewhere in your heart. And we should never forget we can always make the best of any challenge. We never give up, we are getting prepared. And now I would like to invite you all to join our networking event to explore more about the topics, our speakers, or just to refresh our minds by exchanging ideas with different people. You will find a link we are going to send out in the chat to join the networking event. But before that, a survey will be popped up on the screen once the webinar finishes. Your opinions would be really valuable for us. I wish you every success in the future. Thank you and goodbye.